on Roku and Roku Fire TV sticks and Amazon Fire TV sticks and on ZingoTV on Chromecast and all smart TVs 2016 forward. Please remember to download the Barn Burner and ZingoTV apps in their respective app stores. Both are free on both iOS and Android devices. While you're using the apps, please remember to rate and leave a comment so we know that you are enjoying the apps and that you are getting the most out of your time that you're using them. So that being said, let's delve right in. It's a relatively busy episode of the NWHL Cooldown with a couple signings that were made last week, exactly a week ago, actually. And that's, again, with the Minnesota Whitecaps, who were the last team to really stack up signings. However, each Tuesday, it seems they've progressed more and more with 2 to 3 to 4 signings, and this week we have 4 signings. So let's get right into it. So as per the press release from the National Women's Hockey League, the Minnesota Whitecaps announced on November 4th the signing of forwards Nina Rogers, Haley Schmid, Lauren Barnes, and Lynn Astrup. A native of Grand Forks, ND, Astrup played at Warroad High before a successful career at the University of Minnesota Duluth, where she played 118 games between 2014 and 2018. She played both forward and D at UMD, and it is expected that she will primarily be used as a forward by the Minnesota Whitecaps. So in a statement from Astrup as she joins the organization, she said, "I'm thrilled to be joining the Whitecaps for the upcoming NWHL season. I look forward to helping grow the game of women's hockey and inspiring the next generation of female players." So moving forward now to Lauren Barnes. Barnes won the Isabel Cup in Minnesota back in 2019 and is coming off an outstanding 2019-20 season with the Whitecaps, tying Schmid with 13 points on 2 goals and 11 assists, which she recorded in 24 games. So a native of Minnesota, Barnes played at Mercyhurst and Minnesota State University. She led the Mavericks in assists in both her sophomore and senior seasons and finished second in the WCHA in power play points as a senior. Barnes played in the Frauen Bundesliga with ERC Ingolstadt in 2014-15, in which she led the league in goals with 33 as well as points with 65. So in a statement from Barnes, she said, "The Whitecaps have truly become family to me. We've gone through so much together, from winning the Isabel Cup to advancing to the Cup final in 2020, which again was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, in which they were supposed to face the Boston Pride at Warrior Ice Arena in Boston." Anyways, statement goes on to say, "This season will look completely different than anything we've ever seen. These women and coaches are people I admire, and I am thankful to stand by them each day as we inspired the generations to come after us. To the fans, none of this would be possible without you. The state of hockey continuously has shown up for us year after year, and we can't thank you guys enough. Roll Caps." So let's move on to Schmid. Schmid's 13 points last season were from 4 goals and 9 assists, and she was also a member of the Whitecaps Isabel Cup winning team in their first NWHL season. Schmid played 4 seasons prior at St. Cloud State University, in which she posted 30 points on 12 goals, 18 assists. She did this in 136 games with the Huskies hockey program. So Schmid said of her return, "I'm looking forward to a fun year with the Whitecaps and fighting to bring the Isabel Cup back to the state of hockey." Lastly, we're going to touch on Rogers. So in her first season with the home state Whitecaps in 2019-20, Rogers was 1-3-4 in 7 games played, and the 2-time national champion with the University of Minnesota, previously played for the Connecticut Whale and was the 17th overall pick of the at the 2015 NWHL draft. She also won 2 silver medals with the U.S. under-18 team, and this was in 2013 and 2014 at the World Championships. So in a statement from Rogers upon her return for the upcoming season and things that she is hopeful for moving forward, she said, "I'm super excited to be a part of the NWHL and the Whitecaps once again, especially during these uncertain times. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to showcase our sport, as well as being a role model for all the youngsters out there. I can't wait for the first puck drop. To all of our fans, even if you aren't able to be there to cheer us on in person, we know you're cheering Roll Caps in spirit while watching on Twitch. Thank you for your continued support of our team and sport." So lastly, we look at General Manager Jack Broughton, who kind of summed up everyone's capabilities and why he brought them back on for the upcoming season. And to that, he said, Haley has been one of our best all-zone forwards, while Lauren's unstoppable enthusiasm and gritty play set the example for our whole team. Nina's stick handling ability and accurate shot make her an important offensive weapon for us this season, and we are excited to welcome Lynn. She has an outstanding speed and plays with great determination. This is a very important group of signings for the Minnesota Whitecaps. So before I kind of delve into at least the new face for beginners, being Lynn Astrup, I do want to delve into what the roster looks like as of right now for the Minnesota Whitecaps with these 4 signings now out of the way. So before I do so, this brings the number of NWHL players signed for season 6 to 125 as 11 out of 5 at 10 a.m. This is as of November 5th at 10 a.m., hence when this signing was made. Anyways, that being said, it's also believed that there will be one forward from the Toronto Six that will be on defense, but they still have the smallest roster currently standing at 17. Anyways, let's go back to the Whitecaps. So taking a look at their roster, this is how it's composed as of now. Ali Thunstrom, forward. Jonna Curtis, forward. Amanda Boulier, defender. Amanda Levier, goaltender. Corin Bowie, forward. Audra Richards, forward. Ali Morse, goaltender. Megan Payson, forward. Megan Lawrence, forward. Haley Mack, forward. Maddie Rowe, forward/defender. Chelsea Rosenthal, defender. Emma Stauber, defender. Winnie Brott Brown, defender. Lisa Martinson, defender. Stephanie Anderson, forward. Brooke White Lancet, forward. Rosa Leva, defender. Sarah Busad, defender. Nina Rogers, forward. Haley Schmid, forward. Lauren Barnes, forward. Lynn Astrup, forward. And again, this is what the coaching staff looks like as of now. Again, doesn't look like we're going to see any changes to that. So as of now, Jack Brott is the co-head coach, along with Rhonda Engelhart, who is only the second women coach in the National Women's Hockey League, alongside Digit Murphy, now head coach of the Toronto Six, though she is the only female head coach in the National Women's Hockey League. And so when we look at the Minnesota Whitecaps roster overall, they have 13 forwards and 7 defenders, along with 2 goaltenders, which makes for a total of 23 players. Now, just given the way things are charted out, at least, it looks like each roster can have up to 25 players. While I don't know that as exactly as a fact, I do know that there are teams that still are not done, despite saying, they think they're done, or, they're just at this point rather practicing than looking on the market or whatever it may be. And to that, we look to the Toronto Six, who have 17 players. And so I'm going to read out the rosters as of now for the other 5 teams in the league, starting with Toronto. So to that end, we look at the Toronto Six, and they have Kristen Barbara, defender. Elaine Julie, goaltender. Cheyenne Dark-Angelo, forward. Emma Greco, defender. Taylor Woods, forward. Sarah Evkatu Godbu, forward. Brooke Boquist, forward. Michaela Grant-Mentis, forward. Samantha Ridgewell, goaltender. Jenna McParlin, forward. Amy Curlew, forward. Natalie Marcuzzi, forward. Lindsay Eastwood, defender. Brand Wilson Bennett is a forward. Emma Woods, forward. Sarah Steele, defender. And Mackenzie McNeil, forward. Again, their head coach and president of the organization is Digit Murphy. The assistant coach is Gary Soper, and the general manager is Mandy Cronin. So let's take a look at how this team kind of shakes out as of right now. Forwards are at 11, defenders are at 4, goaltenders are at 2, and the total players are at 17. So that being said, we are going to continue to keep tabs on the Toronto Six and where they go with player signings. As far as I've kind of been alluded to at this point, the reason that they haven't really signed more players, given where we are now in early November, is because they wanted to kind of know for fact, what was happening with the season. And according to a source, it sounds like they have an idea of where the season goes from here and what that's going to look like, and more news, I guess, can be expected in the coming weeks. We have to wait and see, but obviously, where to follow me for that news, at Justin Levine HBS on Twitter, thepuckauthority.com, and most importantly, the league itself at NWHL, and at the Toronto Six on Twitter, given that both of them will share and or break that news, of course, when it's appropriate for them to do so. That being said, let's take a look at the Buffalo Beauts, who are just down the road from Toronto. So That being said, we start with the top of their roster at Taylor Kersey, forward, Lisa Chesson, defender, Marie-Jo Pelletier, defender, Carly Jackson, goaltender, Dominique Kremer, defender, Cassidy McPherson, forward, Lenka Kremova, defender, Whitney Dove, defender, Autumn McDougall, forward, and she is the only Canadian on that team, or at least that I'm aware of. She's from the University of Alberta, the first player from U Sports. That part I can confirm. As we go down the list, we find Allison Mateau, defender, Meg Dele, defender, Katie Flagg, goaltender, Nev Van Pelt, forward, Iveta Klimasova, forward, Kelsey Newman, goaltender, Kristen Lywicki, forward, Emma Ruggiero, forward, Kayla Menigan, forward, her first season with the Buttes coming up, as she was previously with what I would believe is the Connecticut Whale. Then joining her is Kelly O'Sullivan, defender, Erin Guillen, forward, Hunter Kersey, forward, her first season of pro hockey in the National Women's Hockey League. She is from Brock University, another one from U Sports. So my apologies. There are two players from U Sports. This is one that was rather big signing, given that she's now playing with her sister at the pro hockey level and doing so in Amherst, New York. So that being said, let's take a look at the coaching staff. Head coach is Pete Parham. Associate coach is Ray Codd. Assistant coach is Mark Zarbo, and the general manager is Nathaniel Oliver, known as Nate. So overall, forwards are at 10, defenders are at 8, goaltenders are at 3, and the total players are 21. Now, I should make a note that prior to the beginning of the season, we have learned that there will be a couple of teams that will be holding 3 goaltenders for the upcoming season. As well, there are other teams that are not done signings entirely, not only goaltenders, but players themselves. As I reported just about a week ago, that the Connecticut Whale are in talks with Rachel Aid. And, obviously we'll know more on that in the coming weeks, as she has been skating with the Whale as a former PWHPA player. So speaking of the Whale, let's go to their roster. So as of now, this is what it looks like. Brooke Wolichko, goaltender. Emma Vlasic, forward. Shannon Doyle, defender. Casey Anderson, forward. Elena Orlando, defender. Tori Howren, defender. Hannah Beatty, forward/defender. Taylor Marchand, defender. Caitlin Russ, forward. Maggie Legou, defender. Abby Ives, goaltender. Amanda Conway, forward. Melissa Samskovich, forward. Nicole Gogliardo, forward. Kayla Friesen, forward. Alyssa Wolfeiler is a forward. Grace Kleinbeck is a forward. Sarah Schwensfire is a forward. Laurel Hill is a defender. Janine Weber is a forward. Jordan Brickner is a defender. And Maddie Bishop is a forward. So let's take a look at the coaching staff. It is led by head coach Colton Orr, who is a former enforcer in the National Hockey League. He played with the Toronto Maple Leafs, among others. Assistant coach is Laura Brennan, who returns for the upcoming season. And the general manager taking over for Bray Ketchum-Peel, as mentioned before, is Amy H.E.R. So let's take a look at this team overall as of now. So the forwards are at 13, the defenders are at 7, the goaltenders are at 2, and the total player count is 22. Anyways, moving on to the Metropolitan Riveters, whose total player count is also at 22. We start at the top of the list, where we find Kendall Cornine, a forward, Rebecca Morse, a defender, Madison Packer, a forward, Layla Kliduff, who is a defender, Kaylee Hutchison, a forward, Mallory Rushton, a forward, Kelly Babstock from the Toronto Six, she was traded and is a forward, Soroya Tinker is a defender, set to make her debut in the National Women's Hockey League from Yale, Tara Hoffman, goaltender, set to make her pro debut as well, Sammy Kolorat, set to make her debut in the National Women's Hockey League, defender from the Czech national team. Then you continue going down the list. Kate Leary returns as a forward. Sonia Shelley joins the organization from the Connecticut Whale as a goaltender. Emily Janigo is with the PWHPA last year and previously in Buffalo in the National Women's Hockey League. She's a forward. Samantha Fiesler is a defender. Tatiana Shatilova is a forward. Brooke Avery is a forward, one of our own here on the Barn Burner TV network and ZINGOTV channel 250 and the H.E.R network. As we continue to go down the list, we find Jane Lewis, forward, Kira Dos-Dallarina, defender, Bridget Prentice, set to make her NWHL pro debut as well. She's a defender. Teresa Knutson, a forward. Rebecca Russo returns to the organization for the upcoming season after taking a year off. She is a forward. And Paige Voigt from Merrimack College is also a forward, joining the organization for the upcoming season. So the coaching staff as of now looks like this. Ivo Mocek is the head coach, assisted by Ashley Johnston, former Riveter, on the bench. This will be her first season doing so. And the general manager is Kate Whitman-Annis. So overall, the forwards are at 13, the defenders are at 7, the goaltenders are at 2, and again, the total player count is 22 as of right now. So let's take a look at the Boston Pride to finish off. So that being said, let's take a look at the start of the list. You find Christina Putinia, who is a forward, Lexi Lang, who is a forward, McKenna Brand, who is a forward, Kaylee Fratkin, who's a defender, Sammy Davis, who is the first overall pick in this year's NWHL draft. She is a forward. She was traded, rather the first round pick was traded from Toronto to Boston, hence her first selection. Underneath her is Jillian Dempsey, a forward, an original NWHL player. Then you find Lauren Kelly, a defender, Jenna Rolt, a defender, Mallory Suliotis, a defender, Teresa Vanisova, who's a forward. You find Lovisa Slander, goaltender, Tori Sullivan, a forward, Carly Turner, a forward, Mary Parker, a forward, Taylor Wenchowski, who's a forward, Megara McManus, who's a forward, Victoria Hansen, who's a goaltender, Paige Capistrano, who's a defender, Taylor Turdquist, a defender, and their most recent signing, though it's been a little while since that signing was made, is Brandon Mastel, a defender. So that being said, let's take a look at the coaching staff. Head coach is another former NHL player for the New York Rangers and Paul Mara, assisted by Johnny McInnes, a former ECHL player with the Maine Mariners. And the general manager is Carolyn Pilch, who also does some stuff with Boston University. So the president, of course, is Haley Moore, and the owner we know is Miles Arnone. So the forwards are at 11, the defenders are at 7, the goaltenders are at 2, and the total player count as of now is at 20. So obviously some teams still have ways to go as of right now in different ways with counts of players. And, we're going to wait and see how things shake out. And, from my point of view, at least, here's the way I see it. I think that part of the reason that there are still players waiting to be signed as of right now, November the 10th, is because we're in an unfortunate and uncertain time of the COVID-19 era where, it's hard to live like this. And it's for that reason, we're trying to figure out, all right, how can, we still feel connected in different ways to, our sports teams, other people, just because of the obvious separation and divide, given the socially distanced aspect of this, that we must, keep at a distance to ensure the safety of one another. And so, when you consider that, you realize that, okay, these leagues are working tremendously hard to ensure a safe return for their first full regular season under the COVID-19 era. And so I think that when you consider the National Women's Hockey League, part of why players aren't signed to answer that rant is because they're trying to keep the interaction up. And so, as far as I've been told, all players are signed, but not all of them are unveiled. So I think, again, part of that has to speak to interaction, to keep things interesting, to keep fans and players connected during this long and uncertain time. So, the players who have signed it and haven't been revealed yet, they're just waiting. They know that they signed, those who are back on the ice, which at this point are most of the teams. They have these new faces on the ice with them. At least that's my understanding. But we continue to wait on player reveal. And, hopefully we'll continue to get those in the coming weeks and months. So, that's where things stand as of right now, just given, again, the unfortunate situation that is the COVID-19 pandemic. So, we're going to continue to wait this thing out and see how things move forward. That being said, I do want to put my attention towards now an article that was unveiled from Sports Venus, sportsarefromvenus.com, which was a NWHL what late signings could each team add. This was an article written a couple days ago, so I'm going to read the article from start to end, and it makes some really interesting points and brings up some players that I guess you wouldn't exactly consider, especially when you look at the strong outreach done by a couple of these teams, such as Minnesota and Toronto, to go to the SDHL in Sweden to get players, as Emma Woods, for example, along with Brooke Boquist, joined Toronto from both with Lexington's IF. So, there's just one thing that kind of clicks in my mind. Anyways, that being said, let's get into it. So, here's how the article starts off. The fun thing about women's hockey is that free agency never really ends. Official NWHL team practices have started for the 2021 season, and over 100 players have signed, but that doesn't mean general managers are done. While some players have chosen to play with the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association or have scattered across European leagues, a lot of talent remains unsigned. Let's highlight a few. First, what does an NWHL roster entail? In an NWHL game, teams dress 17 players, 6 defenders, 9 forwards, and 2 goaltenders. However, a team can sign up to 25 players in case of lineup changes because of injury, conflicting schedules, or simply wanting to shake things up. So, what does each NWHL team need to add, and who should they add? Boston Pride forwards, they have 11 again. I've already read through the list, but I'll read them through specifically again. Forwards are Mary Parker, Tori Sullivan, Jillian Dempsey, Lexi Lang, McKenna Brand, Taylor Winchowski, Sammy Davis, Christina Putina, Carly Turner, Megara McManus, and Teresa Vanisova. Defense, Mallory Suliotis, Brianna Mastel, Paige Capistran, Kaylee Fracken, Jenna Rolt, Lauren Kelly, Taylor Turnquist, that's on defense, and goaltenders are Lovisa Solander and Victoria Hansen. So a possible addition that this website suggests is Avery Franzu. So playing last season at Providence College as Providence College's captain with the Friars, Franzu is a stay-at-home defender who was voted the team's unsung hero in her first 2 seasons. She led her team in blocks her junior year with 55, on top of leading defenders on Providence in points during her senior year. She posted 18 points, 11 of them being even strength points. The Boston Pride is also home to Franzu's former teammate Christina Putina, making Avery Franzu both a well-rounded player and a familiar face. Other possibilities, goaltender Beth Larkham. And again, that is if Boston goes down the route of adding a third goaltender. So the Buffalo Beauts now, they have 10 forwards, and those are Emma Ruggiero, Iveta Klimasova, Autumn McDougall, Neva Van Pelt, Cassidy McPherson, Kayla Menigan, Kristen Lywicki, Hunter Accursi, Taylor Accursi, and Aaron Guillen. So on defense, you see Megan Dele, Marie-Jo Pelletier, Lenka Kremova, Dominique Kremer, Lisa Chesson, Kelly O'Sullivan, Allison Mateau, and Whitney Dove. Dove is also from Providence College with the Friars hockey program, and the goaltenders are Carly Jackson, Katie Flagg, and Kelsey Newman. So they are carrying 3 goaltenders. So a possible addition here, interesting one who's still on the market as of right now, is Emily Fluke. So most NWHL fans will agree with this statement. If you can sign Emily Fluke, you should sign Emily Fluke. Fluke spent her first 2 seasons in the National Women's Hockey League with the Connecticut Whale before switching to the Boston Pride last year. Dan Rice of the Hockey Writers reported that she wouldn't be back with the Pride, but is looking to sign elsewhere. And with the Whale already having 12 forwards, the Beauts are Fluke's best bet south of the border. So last season, Fluke came in second among forwards who played 10 or more games in 5-on-5 goals for percentage with 87.50%, and was on the ice for only 4 goals against in 23 games. She had her best offensive season yet with 29 points in 24 games, including 2 points in the single playoff game the Pride played before the league was shut down for the year. So part of Fluke's success last season comes from being on a dominant team, but before the Pride, she put up 23 points, 34 games in 2 seasons with the Whale team that only won 5 games in that period. Fluke captained the team in her sophomore year, where she played alongside new Beauts player Kayla Menigan. She has clear leadership skills that could be valuable to a small group of Beauts veterans, leading a large group of rookies. So other possibilities to sign at this point for the Buffalo Beauts are Jordan Giron, who is likely not to re-sign with Boston, Kim Brown, who would be a familiar face to the Beauts, and Candace Sheriff. So let's continue going. The Connecticut Whale, there are 12 forwards, and those are Casey Anderson, Amanda Conway, Kayla Friesen, Nicole Gogliardo, Grace Kleinbach, Maddie Bishop, Caitlin Russ, Melissa Samoskovich, Sarah Schwensfire, Emma Vlasic, Janine Weber, and Alyssa Wilfiler. On defense, they have 8, and those are Elena Orlando, Taylor Marchand, Hannah Beatty, Maggie Legoux, Victoria Howren, Lauren Hill, Shannon Doyle, and Jordan Brickner. The goaltenders are two, and those are Abby Ives and Brooke Wolechko. So as we look to goaltenders, a possible addition is Mariah Fujimagari, who has played with Buffalo and previously in the CWHL. So let's kind of read into how this one would shake out. Okay, this is kind of a cop-out answer. Maria Fujimagari is already practicing with the Whale alongside Rachel Aid again, and will probably be offered a contract if an injury occurs to a Whale goaltender. However, there aren't any other places that the Whale can really add, so let's look at why the possibility is good. So the starter for last season's Buffalo Buttes team and the Worcester Blades starter the season before that, Mariah Fujimagari, has seen it all. The Worcester Blades did not win a single game the season she played for them, and while Fujimagari's next season with the Buttes started better, the team fell to fourth place and an early playoff exit due to struggles on the defensive end. So what stands out about Fujimagari is how confident she stands regardless of her team's situation or place in the standings. One weekend with the winless Blades team included Fujimagari facing 73 in 2 games, allowing only 4 goals for a .945 save percentage. So with 2 very young, talented goaltenders on their team, a veteran presence like Fujimagari could help Wolechko as well as Ives. So that being said, let's take a look now at the Metropolitan Riveters. The forwards are Teresa Knutson, Emily Ijaniga, Paige Voigt, Kendall Cornine, Kaylee Hutchison, Madison Packer, Brooke Avery, Tatiana Shatilova, Kelly Babstock, Rebecca Russo, Jane Lewis, Mallory Rushton, and Kate Leary. On defense, Kira Dostal-Arena, Soroya Tinker, Sammy Collerat, Rebecca Morris, Bridget Prentice, Lila Kilduff, and Sam Fiesler. The goaltenders are Sonia Shelley and Tara Hoffman. Tara Hoffman was skating with the Toronto Six between Scotiabank Pond and Callan Ice Sports during the kind of test out period as to where the Toronto Six wanted to call home for their inaugural season. Anyways, that to be said, Lewis and Russian are technically both forwards and defense and can play defense in case of injury. Anyways, possible addition to the team, Helen Cooney. A local goaltender from just outside of Philadelphia, Cooney finished her college career with a cumulative .932 save percentage in 71 games, despite a 26-35-5 record. Cooney was Newman's University starter for the past 2 seasons and provides an option for a third goaltender who is close enough to practice with the Riveters and a solid experience both as a backup and as a starter. With an already competitive Riveters team, a player like Cooney ensures that the team will stay in top shape if Hoffman or Shelley experiences an injury. Other possibilities are Alyssa Peterson and Gina Morello, who is a goaltender, both of which are goaltenders. Anyways, let's move forward. The Minnesota Whitecaps, the forwards again, Ali Thunstrom, Jonna Curtis, Corin Bowie, Audrey Richards, Megan Payson, Megan Lawrence, Haley Mack, Stephanie Anderson, Lauren Barnes, Nina Rogers, Haley Schmid, Lynn Astrup, and Brooke White-Lancet. On defense, it's Amanda Boulier, Winnie Brown, Maddie Rowe, Sarah Bustad, Lisa Martinson, Rosaleva, Chelsea Rosenthal, and Emma Stauber. The goaltenders are 2 of them, Amanda Levier and Allie Morris. So this article notes that Rowe, Astrup, and Bustad can play forward and defense, but are sorted into where they're expected to play primarily. Anyways, possible addition is Mackenzie Steffen. So, despite having a lot of great defenders, the Whitecaps have yet to find a replacement for Sydney Baldwin to help out offensively on the back end with Boulier. Steffen's 85 points in 153 NCAA games on defense puts her as a favorite for the role. Last year's Badgers captain's resume includes an NCAA championship, a World Junior Championship, and ranking 5th for most points by a Wisconsin Badgers defenseman. Anyways, of her 20 career goals, 7 of them came on the power play, including 3 in her senior year, a number that would certainly ease the pain of Baldwin and her 4 power play points not returning. Anyways, other possibilities are forward Haley Herden and defender Courtney Gansk. Anyways, let's conclude with the Toronto Six. The forwards, again, there's 10 of them. Those are Cheyenne Dark-Angelo, Sarah Ev Katu-Godbout, Brooke Boquist, Michaela Grant-Mentis, Jenna McParland, Amy Curlew, Natalie Marcuzzi, Brand Wilson-Bennett, Mackenzie McNeil, and Emma Woods. On defense, Taylor Woods, Kristen Barbara, Emma Greco, Lindsay Eastwood, and Sarah Steele. The goaltenders are Elaine Chuli and Samantha Ridgewell. So, article says, Taylor Woods may be playing as a forward once the season starts and just on defense for practices, but regardless, Toronto is the only team that doesn't have a game day lineup and desperately needs defense. So, who could step in? Possible additions: Jenna Gray. Graduating after the 2018-19 season at York University and immediately jumping behind the bench as an assistant coach, Jenna Gray is not only a great defender, but a great leader. In her final year playing in Canada's youth sports, Gray earned a spot on the Ontario University Athletics, OUA, first team All-Star after her 14-point season tied her for third among defenders in the conference. She captained the first ever York University team to play in a youth sports national tournament in program history. By the end of her university career, Gray would have 39 points in 120 games, received 2 awards, Lions Legacy Award and Youth Sports Marion Hillard Award, for her contributions on and off the ice, as well as leading York women's ice hockey program, the Lions, to a historical season. So there's a lot more options here than other teams, and so I will read out those options, which are as follows. So the possibilities are forward Kat Hughes, Tristan Svetak, defender, Kaylee Dillon, who's a defender, Abby Benning, who is a defender, and Ev Audrey Pickard, also a forward. So let's kind of start digging in here just a little bit into who some of these players are, as a lot of them obviously are unfamiliar, hence the suggestions as to what the team could do. So that to be said, let's just dig in just a little bit. Sorry for the wait. Just give me 1 second here to get started. So to that point, it looks like Kat Hughes played in the NCAA with Harvard. And so let's take a look at her 4 years, which just ended in her last year of captaincy, 2019-20. So starting in 2016-17, she played 29 games of 5 goals and 10 assists, and that made for 15 points. In her second season, 17-18, she played 31 games of 14 goals and 15 assists, making for 29 points. In her third year, 2018-19, she played 32 games with 7 goals and 14 assists, which made for 21 points. Now, in 2019-20, where she was captain for the Crimson, she played 33 games with 8 goals and 13 assists, and that made for 21 points. So through all this, her penalty minutes have stayed really consistent and really low, which is a good thing. So to that end, you see her first 2 seasons, she recorded 12 each, and her last 2 seasons, she recorded 10 each. And then a plus-minus rating in her first season of -15, the next season 4, the next season 6, and she did not have a plus-minus last year, so that is at 0. Anyways, the next name on this list is Tristan Svetek, again, a defender. So to get you familiar with this one, if you give me just another second to pull up this player's stats, she played with the University of Connecticut with the Huskies hockey program. So let's take a look at what this native of Burlington, Ontario, would bring to the Toronto Six. So her first season, 2016-17, she played 36 games, recording 5 assists for 5 points. Her second season in 17-18, she played 32 games, recording 6 assists for 6 points. Her third season, 2018-19, she played 36 games, where she scored 2 goals and 10 assists for 12 points. And then her fourth and final season, this past year, 2019-20, she played in 39 games with another 2 goals and another 10 assists for another 12 points. So looking at the penalty minutes, her penalty minutes have been up and down. 2016-17, she had 16. 2017-18, she had 6. 2018-19, she had 20. And 2019-20, she had 12. So taking a look at her plus minus now, in 2016-17, it was 5. In 2017-18, it was 1. In 2018-19, it was -1, and 2019-20 was -9. So she's not a stranger, obviously, to playing hockey in Ontario, hence why she might be a good fit for the Toronto Six. Native of Burlington, again, she played in the Provincial Women's Hockey League for her junior hockey. She played with the Oakville Hornets and the Burlington Barracudas, as well as the Nepean Wildcats. So let's get into it. 2011-12, she played with the Oakville Hornets. She played 4 games. That's really as far as things got her. So let's take a look at her 3 years with the Burlington Barracudas. So Starting in 2012-13, she played 31 games with 1 goal and 4 assists, which made for 5 points. In her second year, 2013-14, she was named an alternate captain. She played 38 games with 2 goals and 11 assists, which made for 13 points. In her third year, 2014-15, she played another 38 games, then another 2 goals, this time making for 13 assists, and that was for 15 points. So, moving now to the conclusion of her junior career, she played in 2015-16 with the Nepean Wildcats, where she played another 38 games, this time scoring what would have been her high in the league of 6 goals, along with 13 assists for 19 total points. So let's take a look at her penalty minutes now, as that kind of shook out through the course of her career. So starting in 2012-13 with Burlington, she had 24. In 2013-14, she had 30. And then in 2014-15, she had 34. Then in 2015-16, she had 16. So that kind of gives you an idea of the kind of player she is and where this player could fit in as a defender. Though, again, arguably this team needs the defenders much more than they do forwards. So something to keep in mind. Now, every year that she was in the PWHL, except for her first year with Oakville, Svetek made the playoffs, where she saw 3 games respectively in each year. Didn't really do a whole lot, put up 2 assists overall for 2 points, while recording 16 total penalty minutes overall through those 4 years of playoff hockey. So anyways, let's move on to the next one, who is, again, Cale Dillon, who I believe whose first name I read out wrong the first time, so apologies for that. So let's dig into it. Now, Cale Dillon, another product of the University of Alberta, much like Autumn McDougall from the Buffalo Beauts. She's also a defender. So to that end, let's get going with her statistics. Now, she's played 5 seasons with the University of Alberta hockey program in U Sports. And her first year, she played 28 games with 2 goals and 8 assists, which made for 10 points. Her second year, when U Sports officially became U Sports, transitioning from what they were known prior to as CIS. She played 28 games with another 2 goals, this time 6 assists rather than 8, and 8 points rather than 10. So year 3, she played 28 games with 3 goals and 10 assists, which made for 13 points. 2018-19, she played 28 games with 2 goals and 10 assists for 12 points. And 2019-20, her final year, she played 28 games for 1 goal and 20 assists for 21 points. Now, let's take a look at the penalty minutes here as well. So from 2015-16 to 2016-17, she had 8 respectively. And then from 2017-18 to 2018-19, she had 6 respectively, and then finished off this past year with 4. Now, plus minus only stands for 2019-20, which was plus 11. And she also made the playoffs in U Sports in each of her last 3 seasons. So in the first year, she played 5 games, didn't do any damage. Second year, she played 4 games with 1 goal for 1 point. Then her last year, just before the COVID-19 pandemic shut down U Sports hockey play, she played 4 games with 5 assists for 5 points. So there's your update with her. Now, Abby Benning now is another player to touch on again, as the Toronto Six have several suggested for the upcoming season. Someone certainly did their research, which allows me to provide here an update on the player that she is. So also from the University of Alberta in U Sports, she is another defender, and she's been around the JWHL as well as U Sports, joining U Sports when they were known as CIS. So that being said, in 2015-16, as we jump right ahead into her school stats, she played 24 games, scoring 5 assists for 5 points. Her second year in 2016-17, she played 28 games for 3 goals and 6 assists for 9 points. Her third year with the University of Alberta, she played 28 games, scoring 2 goals and 9 assists for 11 points. Her fourth year, 2018-19, she played 26 games for 3 goals and 6 assists for 9 points. And 2019-20, she played 28 games for another 3 goals, this time 8 assists, and that was for 11 points. And now we look at her penalty minutes. So if you look at 2015-16 and take a look at those penalty minutes there, she recorded 2 there after finishing her last season in the JWHL with another 2. And then moving forward, she had 8, 4, 10, and 8. Now, Something that's interesting about Benning is she's also played in the U Sports playoffs in each of her last 3 seasons. And in doing so, we take a look at the first season where she played 5 games with 2 assists for 2 points. Then her fourth year in the league, she played 4 games in the playoffs with 1 assist for 1 point. And then her 5th year, just this past year again, 4 games, 1 goal for 1 point. So you got an idea that these aren't the most offensively capable players. However, that to be said, there's something to be said for their defensive skill and capabilities. Anyways, let's move forward, shall we? I think we shall. So, that to be said, we take a look now at Eve Audrey Picard from the University of Vermont, who is a forward. And this is the only forward seemingly to be mentioned. She is from Longier, Quebec, and is a left-handed shooter. Now, before I get into any of that, let's make note that she is a one-time winner of the gold medal at the U18 World Junior Championship. So, as we kind of delve right in here, let's take a look at that World Junior season where she played in 5 games with 5 goals and 1 assist, making for a total of 6 points. Now, in 2015-16, where she was at CEGEP with the St. Laurent Patriots in the QCHL. She played 23 games with 16 goals and 14 assists for 30 points. And after her second year at CEGEP, in which only one of her 2 seasons again are recorded here, we take a look at her tenure with the University of Vermont Catamounts hockey program. And she arguably was very, very strong and could be an asset to the Toronto Six. If Digit Murphy is looking in this direction, this would be one heck of a snatch of a player to go after. So in 2016-17, her first year of college, she played 38 games to 16 goals and 15 assists and 31 points. 2017-18, she played 33 games, scoring 14 goals and 11 assists for 25 points. In her third year, she was named an alternate captain with the University of Vermont. She played 26 games, scoring 8 goals and 13 assists for 21 points. And in her fourth and final season this past year before COVID, she played 33 games, scoring 5 goals and 16 assists, which made for 21 points again. So while she didn't make the playoff in either of her years playing with the Catamounts, let's take a look at the penalty minutes aspect. So that's 36 in her first year, 2016-17. 17-18, she saw 44. 2018-19, she saw 20. And in 2019-20, she saw 28. Now, the plus minuses are in 2016-17, plus 1, 17-18, plus 3, 2018-19, minus 1, and 2019-20, 5, plus 5. Anyways, so that is a roundup of the players suggested for the Toronto Six. Again, there's no knowledge at this time as to where exactly Digit Murphy is looking. And I only have about roughly 14 minutes left. So I'm going to touch on, I think, a couple other players, and I want to make a couple notes on Tyler Tuminia, who sat down with Lindsay Eastwood and Brooke Avery on Sunday night here on the Barn Burner and Her network on ZingoTV channels 250 and 251 to talk about the upcoming season 6 and plans of which she could unveil at this time. So that to be said, before I do so, I want to get into a couple other players, and this I think I'm going to look to the Minnesota Whitecaps. So that being said, let's take a look at Haley Herden, who is a forward. Anyways, that to be said, Haley Herden, again, she was with give me just a second. Looks like the University of Wisconsin with the River Falls. So playing Division III hockey, she played in 27 games in her first year with 11 goals and 21 assists for 32 points. Her second year, 17-18, was 28 games for 8 goals, 15 assists, and 23 points. Her third year was 27 games for 7 goals and 7 assists for 14 points. In 2019-20, her fourth and final season was 29 games where she scored 6 goals and 24 assists for 30 points. Now, if we take a look at the penalty minutes in which she amassed, she recorded 4 in her first season, 12 in the next two, and 14 in her final season. Then do make note of a plus minus of plus 29 in her first season of college hockey. Now, prior to college hockey, she played in the USHS League in Minnesota, and she made the playoffs in each of her 4 years there. And that's high school / junior hockey. And she only played one game in each of the first 2 seasons. She played 2 in the third season and 5 in the final season. So that's how that one cracks down. Anyways, so arguably she could be an offensive asset to the Minnesota Whitecaps as they look to cap off their final, what I believe is 2 spots on the roster. So that being said, let's take a look at what that other spot could look like. And that would be with the Canadian. So we look at, again, Courtney Gansky, who is from Lindenwood University in the NCAA. She is from Killarney, Manitoba. So let's take a look at her statistics. So 2016-17 with Lindenwood, she played 31 games with 5 goals and 1 assist, and that made for 6 points. And then her second season, 2017-18, she played 31 games, recording 19 assists for 19 points. Her third season, 2018-19, 33 games, 4 goals, 7 assists for 11 points. And 2019-20, she was named a team captain. And so in a position of leadership, she played 34 games, scoring 2 goals and 5 assists, which made for 7 points. Now, let's take a look at the penalty minutes recorded here. So her first year was 8, her second season was 14, third was 6, and her fourth was 29. So I think the increasing margin is something to be weary of. However, that being said, she still looks like she could fit in, I'd say, arguably rather well with this organization. And the plus minus is, of course, her first year was minus 11. Next year was plus 4. Next year was minus 8. And last year was minus 23. So with the up and down numbers that might be of slight concern, I think about this one a little bit. But obviously there's some offensive talent. And while it seems to kind of escalate and de-escalate and fluttering those numbers a little bit, it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that one is set to play out. So that being said, I think I'm going to look at 2 more before I dive into some comments from Commissioner Tyler Tuinia. So that being said, we look at Alyssa Peterson, who was a suggestion for the Metropolitan Riveters. So if you just give me just a moment to pull this up. All right, here we go. Alyssa Peterson from Endicott College, Division III NCAA hockey. She is a goaltender. So let's take a look. Her first year, 2016-17, she played 6 games with a 0.99 GAA and a 0.953 save percentage. Her second year was another 6 games with a 1.32 GAA and a 0.915 save percentage. Her third year was 0.78 goals against average and a 0.960 save percentage. And 2019-20, she played 19 games with a 1.12 save percentage GAA and a 0.957 save percentage. Now, she didn't make the playoffs in any of her years of college hockey. However, during her junior years, she made the playoffs twice, playing in a total of 4 games where she recorded respectively 1.67 GAA and 0.922 save percentage. And then she played 1 game the next year, 2014-15, with 4.00 GAA and a 0.886 save percentage. So that to be said, let's move along to Gina Morello now, who is the final pick I will take a look at for today. And she looks like she played at Sacred Heart University in Connecticut, New York. So let's delve in, shall we? I think we shall. Goaltender from Trumbull, Connecticut. She is a local. And so not all of her stats are recorded here, actually. So she played 2 games in 2017-18, and in 2019-20, she played 3 games. And each save she recorded a save percentage of 1.000. And I'm guessing this is because of hidden access to elite prospects. So that to be said, let's now delve into the last portion of this episode, and that is comments from Tyler Tuinia on the state of the game and where we go from here. So that to be said, Tyler Tumia sat down with Lindsay Eastwood and Brooke Avery. And in conversation, she said there is a lot on the side of the front office to get ahead with in the coming months. And so part of that is tightening up the league administration, working on bolstering promotions, looking at the entertainment dollar, as she is formerly a baseball executive. And so something that she did a lot was hold a lot of promotional nights, regardless of whether there were fans in the ballpark or not. So she's looking to enhance that by every means for the National Women's Hockey League. Now, she mentioned a couple of her ideas that she had and put into action while she was a baseball executive, given her different roles for marketing and sponsorships in the baseball world. So she had a blackout night for the fans where there were virtually none. She also mentioned, which was a little bit odd, a vasectomy night, which in women's hockey might be seen as a little insensitive, and was, I think, certainly a surprise to those who heard it on Sunday when she mentioned it. I think the goal was to go for something creative, and it certainly didn't come off that way. And Lindsay's face was, I think, probably as shocked as I was, and still kind of feel having heard that when Tyler said that. But point is, she's trying to be creative, and as long as she can stick to things that are appropriate, and I think that that's Tyler Tumini's plan, as she said, that they're going to jump into the entertainment dollar of hockey and her role as commissioner, much more slow than, jumping in the water and getting your feet wet like that. So that being said, when you look at promotions, she also wants to obviously have the infusion of fun and have that include all demographics. Anyways, she wants her fans to be entertained, wants to have that element of fun and escape, and that escape aspect coming from the reality of COVID-19 and trying to escape that. So to that end, she's looking for a different approach to fan engagement. And I think when I mentioned some of her promotions from last year, you kind of see that. But in hockey, you can't exactly have a blackout night, and the lights can't turn off, and you just have to be weary of what's appropriate in terms of promotions for fan and player engagement purposes. Anyways, so obviously she wants to incorporate that into the fan environment for a fun one around the league, but due to COVID-19 and the not knowing / uncertainty of whether or not there will even be fans, this is something that she'll be paying attention to with regards to the environment strictly itself, whether they have a limited amount and they do some interesting promotions / fun promotions, or whether she opts for things like cardboard cutouts, which we've seen a lot of through Major League Baseball the past couple months. And that was interesting. Not everyone loved it. And with hockey, it's got the potential to look a little bit strange. So it's something to keep in mind. There are electronic graphics that Fox Sports has used, but I'm not really sure what Twitch has the capabilities to provide. So in the case that they can provide something like that, I'm sure they will. But part of Tyler Tuminia's main goals, which she's mentioned time and time again, is to strike a TV deal. And in the era of COVID, it seems kind of unlikely that it's going to happen just because the money isn't there due to the slightly collapsed economy due to the shutdowns and everything. So it might take time, but that is another one of her main priorities set out as commissioner, to get these girls on a platform that they are deserving of, which she also mentioned with Lindsay and Brooke. So she mentions how this new model of private ownership is super important, and that there are individualized owners who provide not only energy but resources, especially in new markets. When you look at Toronto, as Tuminia was the chairwoman of the Toronto Six before accepting the interim commissioner role after Danny Ryland stepped down to become the founder of Women's Hockey Partners, which is an investor group led by her and her colleague Ksenia, and they now own the Buttes, Whitecaps, Whale, and Riveters. So that to be said, as we look towards some other notes on the upcoming season, we take a look at the fact that she wants this customized, localized resources aspect tossed into it. hence private ownership, because private owners have the ability to provide additional resources, which will obviously help to make pro women's hockey all the more pro. And Toronto and Boston are both privately owned and after different things. And Boston is by far the most professional team in the league. But they're looking to change that and have the same thing for all players and all teams. So certainly a step in the right direction with the model. So anyways, she mentions success and home advantage as part of the resources angle. And she mentions as well that there is some exciting stuff that she's currently working on and can't yet reveal. So whether that's expansion or a TV deal that we're actually surprised by, I wouldn't expect that to be it, but certainly something to consider. She also talks about how it's really nice that each team and front office encourage one another through social media, etc., which is something that drew her to the National Women's Hockey League. As well, she said, again, with regards to, what the future looks like for showcasing their talent, doing so on a higher platform moving forward. Again, so something she'll be paying close attention to in the near future. So she finishes off saying her immediate goals look like this. She wants to define what season 6 will look like from a health and safety point of view. Again, with the TV deal, she wants to make sure that the players and staff all feel comfortable, as well as the volunteers to be involved in the upcoming season. Again, it's all based on numbers and logistics, and then operations internally, streamlining administration. And then she wants to find a true sponsorship partner to aid the league in women's hockey, but not just the women's game, but to show that, there's genuine interest and that there is more that can be done. So that takes us to the end of the NWHL cooldown for a sunny Tuesday, November 10th. You can follow me on Twitter at Jocelyn Levine HBS and on Twitter at NWHL to follow for more signings and sponsorship news, among other things. And make sure to follow my work on the Toronto 6 and NWHL developments at thepuckauthority.com and at Puck Authority 1 on Twitter and the Puck Authority on Instagram. So that does it for me. My name is Jocelyn